Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Finance Trouble Show. And y'all know Saturday segment is Wealthy Conversations. Today, we are blessed and fortunate to have Ms. Andrea Jack, who is a small biz CFO and CEO and president of DNP Financial. Me and Ms. Andrea Jack, have been friends many years. Indeed, at one point, she was even my client. And then now she has surpassed me, and she's the big boss lady. But Andrea is an accountant, helps a lot of businesses, large, small, beginner, new. And today we're going to have a conversation about what new business owners need to be successful. We find ourselves always having this same conversation time and time again. So I wanted to bring Andrea on today to talk about that and kind of let y'all in on some of the stuff we be talking about behind the scenes. Say hello to everybody, Andrea.
Hey guys, how are you? It's so good to be here. Happy Father's Day weekend to all the fathers. Happy Father's Day, Kamari, right?
Thank
Get
you.
that out
Thank
the
you.
way in the
Yes, yes.
beginning.
Out the way in the beginning. Absolutely. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask everybody to share this out with anybody who's thinking about starting a small business or a new business, rather,
Mm-hmm,
because I know there'll be a lot of gems that they can pick from.
mm-hmm.
But this kind of started. Well, it started a couple ways, right? Like I said, me and Jack. I call Andrea Jack, like most people do. So don't be alarmed. I'm not talking to some weird dude in the background if you hear me say Jack. But we often have these conversations about
Mm-hmm.
where businesses are going wrong, what they should be doing, what they should be thinking about. And so I'm going to start the conversation off with this question. What is the biggest blunder you see some of your business clients do routinely?
Go get their EIN number before they even register with the state. And, people will argue me down about it, right? And you guys just saw Kamari make that face like, what? So this is what him and I do. We go back and forth about, tomato kind of thing. However,
Right.
that's such a big blunder for me because, if you decide that you want ABC company, you didn't do your due diligence to know whether or not that name is available in your state. So you go and get your EIN number from the IRS, and then you come back to your state and you try to register, and they're like, yeah, no, you can't have that name because that name is already taken. So you've already told the IRS that you're going to be operating as in this name as this type of entity, yet you haven't done the beginning due diligence with making sure that you could operate in that name in that entity. So I think that's one of the biggest blunders because oftentimes we kind of have to undo that, go back to the IRS, either shut that EIN number down or change the name to match whatever the name is going to be, based upon what the state is going to approve. So, and the biggest thing is people don't realize when they go over to the IRS and they're applying for their EIN number, it asks them a very specific question. What name or what entity did you register, or what state did you register in, right? Not what state are you going to register in, but what state did you register in? Meaning the expectation is that it's already been completed. So, what's your feedback on that, Kamari? What's your feedback?
I have never listened. I know that's not the biggest blunder you've come across, but I'll concede that point. However, out of all these years in business, I have never had that happen. And it's probably
What?
because, yeah, it's probably because I naturally do a name search anyway. And so
Well,
I'll do a
remember,
name.
I was saying they've already come to me having the
I
EIN
know.
number, right? Okay.
Right. And I'm just explaining my side.
Okay.
Usually if I do it, right, side note, people please stop playing these junky people to do your articles of incorporation or to form your LLCs. A lot of times they get it wrong. I'll also say, and Andrea, I don't know how you feel about this. I think some of the big box brand internet companies charge way too much for entity formation. But that's just me. Well, you know what? And as
Well,
we go along, I heard the comments. So hold on a second, Jack. So Rel or Terrell, when you do that, come talk to me first before you get going. But I'll say this. And good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chili. Good morning, Rel. I'll say this. I've never ran into that situation, but usually when I'm doing it, yes, I always do the name search first. I was trying not to say names, Chili Davis. Um, they don't need no more commercial time from me. But I I have seen that. I have seen improper entity formation, right? Even outside of just the EIN number, I've seen people that have gotten LLCs, they didn't need an LLC. They've gotten S corps, they didn't need S corps. They've gotten C corps, they didn't need C corps. And the bigger thing to me was they didn't understand any of it. They just got it because somebody told them to get it. So that's
exactly.
like everybody doesn't need an LLC, right? Everybody doesn't need a corporation.
Right.
Not saying that you can't get, but and just kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, Andrea. But I
Right.
get it. I totally get it, and I can't argue that point.
Right.
I can't
And
argue that point.
the biggest thing is, so all right. So if you think that's not my biggest blunder, this is so simple. Having a foundation, right? I teach for community, and in the class that I teach on finances, I talk about
Wait a minute. Let me stop
you.
you right there. Let me stop you right there. You don't teach for community. You teach for Community College of Philadelphia. So Miss Jack
Okay.
is a full-fledged professor. She's a full-fledged professor.
Yes.
Listen, language matters.
Semantics, y'all. I told y'all this is what we do. Tomato, tomato, right? I say community, he says community college. That's why we love each other. So yes,
But you got to
I
realize
am a
everybody on this live isn't from Philly. So we
okay.
have a
Okay.
national audience.
Got it.
So I want
Excuse
people to
me, right?
understand how thorough you are, you know.
Thank you. So okay, so I teach for the community college here in Philadelphia, and when I'm talking to small business owners, we talk about how you are in the center, and then you have this nucleus around you, and that nucleus around you are some of the professionals that if you are going to start a business, you should start building relationships with, i.e. a banker. So I think someone said on here, I think it was Chili said, or was it Rel, that they're looking to start their LLC soon, right? And Kamari said, come and see him before you do that, which is absolutely true. But Kamari's just one piece, right? So around that around that circle, you want to have a lawyer that, when you're ready, you can go and get advice from, or at least get a free consultation from, right? And a lot of lawyers do free consultations. You want to have an insurance broker, because as you're sitting down and you're kind of beginning to prepare whatever it is you want to do, excuse me, you want to talk about, what type of insurance do I need to be covered for whatever type of business I want to start. Your banker, right? You're thinking about who, what bank do I want to bank with? And so, having gone through this global pandemic, a lot of us had the big box banks, and now we're kind of reconsidering and relooking at some of the smaller and regional banks, right? But just kind of making those decisions. Then you have someone who may be a coach or a mentor, someone that can help you from the perspective of, this is the business and industry I want to go in, and they may already have experience in that industry. And then, of course, you want your accountant. So when we talk about, we often joke and say that's your board of directors. Although they aren't making the final decision, those are kind of the folks that you want to be able to build a relationship with, so that when you start off, especially for you, Terrell, you are starting off with a solid foundation, right? So many business owners, they just kind of jump out there willy-nilly. And then when they start getting letters in the mail because now they are in tax trouble, or they didn't do something right, Now they're scrambling trying to find someone that can help them. But if they kind of did a little bit of that due diligence on the front end, you wouldn't have to scramble. It would be just calling up, whoever that professional is and saying, listen, this is what I got. Can you help me, or can you point me in the right direction?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing I want to point out, right? You said build those relationships early. So don't go form your business and then go talk to these people. Talk to these people ahead of time, right? It's a relationship. So, I see many of us kind of work backwards forward instead of forwards backwards, if that makes sense. Or we put the
All
cart
the
before the horse.
time. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm right there with you when you say you have your own team, but a lot of people don't have a lot of money when we're talking starting a business. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the person that's starting from the mud, that's starting from zero. They're trying to get to 100. Would you still give them the same advice, even though they have limited resources?
All day. I started on my mother's dining room table, y'all. My mother's, not even my own dining room table. Okay. So I started with a laptop that I had from college that was a little broke down. I mean, it is what it is. However, I think oftentimes we allow finances to be a barrier. And so, they say the dumbest question is the question not asked. So many professionals have a component where they will give you a free consultation. And so, Kamari so elegantly mentioned that this is a national show. So in most cities and states, we have SBDCs, which is small business development centers. We have CDFIs, which is your community development centers. So there are a lot of resources, especially in some of the major cities, where you can go and get information for free. However, again, that word due diligence, or those two words, due diligence, you have to be willing to do some work before you jump out there. It's like, you're the kid on the side of the pool, knowing good and well you should be in 3 feet, but your friends done souped you up to go jump in 6
Or 8.
or
You
8.
can do it. I'm off the
Right?
diving
Come
board.
on. You know what I'm saying? So,
So I want to throw this in real quick. Sorry. Chili said SCORE. Right. So a lot of people don't know about
score.
SCORE, and SCORE is
Yes.
the mentorship program through the SBA. Is the SBA?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's free.
Mm.
And it's free.
Right.
And it's free. So,
Okay. So Andrea, I see you're sending private messages to me that you were trying to respond
I was trying to respond to
to.
the people. Yes, let me respond to
Right.
the people,
Yeah.
Kamari.
I'm getting there. We got to get to the meat of it. We having a conversation first, and usually I try to wait till a little bit later to interact with some of the audience, because oftentimes they might start asking questions, and I definitely want to address them. But oftentimes they don't know what we're going to talk about either, and so many times I want to address those questions anyway. But this is one I wouldn't have thought about. So Rel said, so it's the best to go something like GoDaddy to check first. All right. So GoDaddy is for website domain registration, Rel. You can do that, and that's a good idea. However, it does not it does not represent business registration. So your website domain is important because it's a part of marketing and everything, but it does not take the place of registering your business. So when you register your business, you can do that at your state. I know you're in Pennsylvania, so you do that at the state. The state is still closed right now. I wouldn't try
But
to
you can do it
register a business
online.
right now.
I just did one though.
So here's the thing. I did a registration change, and every registration change or register has to be touched by a human being. And so you get the first part, but you don't get that final letter. So I'm still waiting on the final letter. Unless
Okay.
maybe they
Now
opened up
I did a new
another.
registration and it did go through. Yeah, we got all our
Yeah.
paperwork. But I want to add something
Yeah.
for Rel, right? So,
Yep.
when you guys so we're gonna go back to ABC Company, right? We live now in a digitized world. And so believe it or not, there are people that sit and watch because it's public information when a business is being registered in a state. And if they like that name, they will go and snatch up your domain name, right? And then when you're ready to go purchase the domain name, they want to sell it back to you for enormous amounts of money. Okay. So, when you're going through the process, so let's say you're going to go to Kamari and he's going to do your registration. Kamari should typically say, all right, give me two names, right? So then that way, in the event there's any issues, we kind of have two things we can bounce off of. And then on the same token, you're also going to go and check for the domain. Like, I ask my clients, all right, so do you want abccompany.com or do you just want abc.com? Or do you want a .org or do you want .info? Like, what is your pleasure? And so when we're registering you as a new business, we're kind of doing both at the same time because we've already checked with the state to make sure whatever your first choice is, it's available. And then once we do that, then we know, okay, great. We also need to go and get that domain name simultaneously so no one can come in and undercut you. So GoDaddy is important. However, it's not the end all be all when you talk about registering your business with the state.
And by the way, GoDaddy isn't the only company that does domain registration.
Yeah, because
Just
I
wanted
don't
to
even
throw
use
that out.
GoDaddy.
Yeah, I got a bunch over there, but I'm starting to move away. But to that point, Andrea is correct. People sit on names all the time,
It's like that's their
and they will.
job.
Yeah, and then I mean they call it digital real estate or domain flipping. They call it domain flipping,
Oh,
and so
I didn't know
yeah,
it
it's
had a
a it's
name,
a
y'all.
yeah, it's a whole thing. I mean, when you if you look at Amazon.com had to pay an exorbitant amount for that domain name years ago
Yeah.
because somebody had already had it. But that was kind of in the wild, wild west of the internet, and now
Mm-hmm.
things is definitely a bit more professionalized. So if you just type in, I don't know, Philly business, if that domain isn't already used, somebody probably already owns it. Popular things like that where people can drive traffic to it, people probably already own it. And to buy it, I've seen prices anywhere from $500 to $500,000. It's not a game. It's not a
At
game.
all.
They serious. Yeah. All right. So business registration is a sticky issue that you see a lot of issues with. Does every business need an LLC? In
It
your opinion?
depends.
And listen, we are not lawyers. We're not lawyers. I
Right,
just want to
right.
throw that
So
out
in
there,
my
right?
opinion,
But
it
but
depends.
typically, but I just want to say this real quick. But typically, when people register their business and they go to a lawyer and they're not a tax lawyer, they still usually refer them back to the accountant for all the
Yes.
tax advice. Yeah.
Yes. That's why we're so important, Kamari, man. We're so important. So my answer is it depends because I always reference. So if you guys haven't watched this movie with the Koch brothers, I think it's called The Founder, for the McDonald's brothers, who is the owner of McDonald's Corporation. They touch on exactly what we're talking about right now, right? And so it goes back to, and this is why relationships are so important. You want to be able to ask some questions and be able to share your vision, right? And whether you're meeting with a lawyer, whether you're doing it with an accountant, both of us can register your business. Or even if you're going to do it yourself, which we kind of don't recommend. However, it's an option. But you want to kind of work through what's getting ready to happen. So I'll use myself as an example. Doing DNP Financial Services, which is the name of my company, right? If my game plan coming in was to be able to grow this thing to something that I could never even imagine, then yes, I wanted to start as an LLC because at least by nothing else, forming that LLC is the beginning phases. It's like the birth of my child, where it will begin to live and breathe on its own, right? It's just the infancy stages. And then it separates me from the business. So I now have that level of separation, right? If I do the sole proprietor, I am the business, right? So it's kind of like Andrea Jack doing business as DNP Financial Services. Now you get into, I mean, there's a lot of different entity structures, but you typically hear like the S corporation and the C corporation. We don't typically recommend that you start on that level because most small business owners are starting in their homes. They haven't even branched out to get a building yet or any type of rental space. And when you start making those type of decisions, now you are, from a tax planning standpoint, kind of cutting yourself off at the knees. So again, that's why it's so important, going back to my little circle with the nucleus around you, having those relationships, because we will be able to guide you in the direction and what we think is going to be the best fit for where you are. Now, there's some people that come to me that out the gate, they already have contracts, and it could be government contracts, state, city, state, federal, local, state, federal. It all depends. And so if you're coming to me with that, with a revenue stream already built in based on where you're trying to go, then we may be having a different conversation. But if you come in to tell me, Andrea, yeah, I want to start a t-shirt business. Am I going to tell you to do an S Corp or a C Corp? Probably not. Not to say that your t-shirt business can't knock it out the box, right? However, I probably wouldn't start you out as a S Corp or a C Corp. And then partnerships is in a realm of its own. So, when I listen to the question that Kamari asks, it depends.
Right, because many times you might not even tell them to do an LLC. If they might. So we get a lot of people that come to us that don't have fully formed business ideas. And they're kind of, and this is no disrespect to anybody, right? But everybody knows the guy or the gal that, I want to do this. I want to do the t-shirt business, but they haven't researched the cost of shirts. They haven't done and talk to a graphic designer. They're not a graphic designer, and they want to just jump out there. So what I do, I'll tell them to just go start. And then we'll come back later and do the LLC. And I do that for a reason. And I know Jack doesn't like that for some legitimate reasons. But when you form an LLC or any business, right, entity, you now have a tax responsibility. Depending upon what state you're in, sometimes you have an annual filing fee. For example, in California, it's like $800. I think in New York it's $800. I think in Massachusetts it's $500. Some states are $50, but the state gets that off top whether you make money or not. And many people don't understand that. And so I know Jack has a clientele that is, I would say, adequately sufficient in terms, or adequately word I'm looking for, sophisticated, right? She's not dealing with a whole lot of people that are just kind of starting, even though I know she has.
That's not necessarily true.
But I know some of your clients are, and so I know they're not always starting from the mud. And I'm sure you get some that do start from the mud. Like I know you have some executives that started businesses and they had plenty of money and they were serious about doing business. What I find is I run into this all the time, and I guess maybe I'm super sensitive to it. But people go to these internet sites, they register their domain, or not their domains, they register their businesses. They don't have an idea of what their business model is, basically how they make money. Forget about a business plan. They don't even understand their business model. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, they don't have a, and again, I don't say that with any malice or shade, but they're ignorant to the process. They're ignorant to what business is. And I see them go into the spirals, and wound up owing more money or owing money because they weren't properly educated. What you talked about in the very beginning.
Mhm.
So, before you do anything, going back to the very beginning of what Andrea said, get educated first and
Mhm.
truly understand what a business is, because I've seen LLCs, because LLCs can take the form of a partnership, as a multi-member LLC, or as a
Mhm.
multi-member LLC, or multi-member partnership.
Mhm.
And I've also seen them as single, LLCs, or what they call disregarded entities.
Mhm.
And they've done some stuff that have really jacked themselves up. They didn't know they had to file certain forms. They didn't know the date they needed to file. And so it was just bad all the way around.
Like I
And they
have this
wound up
young lady
getting
right
penalized.
now. Oh gosh, I have this young lady right now, right? So I was on one of my lives, and
Mhm.
I was talking about, applying for the PPP and all of that. And she had commented and was kind of like, well, I don't think it applies to me because I'm self-employed. And I'm like, absolutely, it most certainly applies to you. I said, and you're going to have to submit your Schedule C. And she sends me a private message, and she's like, well, I don't have a Schedule C on my tax return. So
Right.
then, are you actually self-employed? Right? And I'm laughing, guys, because I'm making light of it. However, it's serious. It's real, because this person actually has a legitimate business. It's a daycare center, and so you know, foundation is so important. And so I think one of the things that, and anything that you do, you should kind of always ask, like, even if you just say it out loud and it begins to kind of get the wheels turning, like, what foundation do I need to have in place? What
So
foundation
let me
do
let
I
me ask you
need
this
to
question.
have in place?
She has a daycare center, so she has, I'm guessing, employees,
Yes, herself and two other people.
and I'm betting they're probably not really employees. They're probably independent contractors, since she's not filing her taxes. Just
Well,
a guess.
so right, we haven't gotten that far yet, because we're going to get the tax
Right.
information this week. However, in this case, this business owner was filing their own taxes through TurboTax.
Right. So I would bet dollars to donuts, 9 times out of 10, our employees are actually listed as independent contractors. And Andrea is smiling because she already knows where I'm going. So many of us, many business owners, don't want employees, technical employees that get W-2s. They either want to pay people under the table, or they want to make them a 1099 employee.
But guess
That
what?
shouldn't even seem
Corona
right.
done happened. They want
Hey,
employees now.
yeah, they want employees now because
They
they
want
want
employees
PPP.
now.
But I'll say this, right? The IRS and the Department of Labor actually have, a standard of what they consider an employee or an independent contractor.
Yes.
Most times, in my experience, folks that are classifying people as independent contractors to avoid paying they do it to avoid paying Social Security and Medicare tax, and any payroll fees as well.
Don't forget that workers' comp.
It- yeah, and workers' comp, but they're wrong. They're not independent contractors. They're actually W-2s. And the Department of Labor and the IRS are cracking down on these folks. And when they catch you, usually because one of your independent contractor goes and files unemployment, they give you a massive fine. So, foundation understanding is so important.
It is. It
So
is.
we're not going to be on too long, folks. But Andrea, if you could give, I don't know, 3 things that you want every business owner to know, can you do that now?
3 things that I want every business owner to know. I would say the first thing is, do your due diligence. So you want to start a business, or even if you're already in business, do your due diligence and get your foundation in place, right? I use the analogy of, like, starting your business is like birthing your child, or you can use the analogy of, you're building your home, right? And so if you're getting a home built, you want it to be built on a solid foundation. Number 2 would be, build yourself a repertoire of professionals that you can build relationships with, who you know, like, and trust. And so if that means you have to go through a few until you find the right one, then do that, right? Interview that professional, because that professional is coming to work for you on behalf of your business. Um, and I recognize, like I say now, I jokingly say this quite often, like accountants, we're like churches now. We're on like every corner. So I understand that I don't necessarily mesh well with everybody, and that's okay. And the same thing with Kamari, and that's why we can refer between each other, or we have other folks that we deal with, that we can send people to, or you may not like my prices, whatever the case may be. And then thirdly, take whatever it is you're doing seriously. I know for me, when I started my business, I shared earlier, I started on my mother's dining room table. And I mean, it was kind of a hustle in a sense of like, it was my money to buy my pocketbooks and shoes and to go on my trips, right? And I was like, oh, I'm only gonna be open from January to May, get tax season on and popping, and then I'm closed for the rest of the year, right? However, that's not me, because I'm a person who wants to help people. And I'm that one, and Kamari laughs at me when I say this, like I'm going to find the penny. If it's 1 cent off, I'm going to find it. So what I was thinking in my head was not matching with who I am as an individual. And it just really allowed my business to take on a life of its own. However, I was able to scale to that point because regardless of what, I always took it seriously. Like if I'm going to do your taxes, I need to do them as accurately and as efficiently as possible. If I'm going to give you professional advice, I need to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. So I'm constantly in some type of education, because things are always changing. So take it seriously. And it doesn't matter if a global pandemic hits, or a natural disaster hits, or it's just a downturn or an uptick in business. When your foundation is in place and you've built those relationships, and you already have the mindset that this is what I want to do, then you'll find ways to push through whatever may be in front of you. Whether you got to push through it or jump over it. And so that would be my three things. And I know people probably thought it would be something in regards to money and all of that. But when you look at, or I'm going to say, however, when you look at some of the most successful CEOs in the world, it's their mindset that is a game changer, not necessarily the product that they're offering or the service that they provide. It's their mindset and the things that they're willing to do for them to be able to succeed in business.
Somebody put it's your mindset that's a game changer in the chat.
Oh, I didn't see
We
that.
need that as
Sorry.
a was that
I didn't see that.
no, I'm asking them to put that in the chat.
Oh, put it in the
I'm
chat. Right.
in the chat because that's very real. It's always mindset. It's become cliche, but it's very true.
It's so
I mean, if any
true.
of y'all, right? If any of y'all, y'all got nannies, y'all got my moms, y'all got aunties that might not have a whole lot of money, but got a couple ingredients in the kitchen, and they can get in there and whip up a beautiful meal. And so when they
Mm-hmm.
talk about Jesus breaking a piece of bread and making it multiply, it's really about a mindset. In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to get to a religious argument or discussion, but it's a mindset. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because Jesus always said you can do all things. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you can do all things, you can do all things. You just got to be able to think about it and manifest it. And it might not come right away, but if you're really taking it serious and knowing that you can do it, you'll get it done.
You'll manifest
Um,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely. So today we're going to run a little short, y'all. I forgot I got a tea time today, and it's Father's Day, so I didn't want to re-register, and I got some other family things going on, so I got to run. I want to have Jack back because me and Jack actually, this is very toned down. Like we have very spirited conversations. All in love, though. All in love, and always for the best interest of the client. But Andrea, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Please let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook. You can definitely look me up. My name is down there in the bottom corner. Or my business is DNP Financial Services. So Kamari got me restricted, y'all. I can't put it in the chat. He got me restricted. So DNP Financial
You
Services. If
can.
you're looking for me on social media, it'll be D as in David, N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, Financial. DNP Financial. And I would say right now the best place to find me is definitely on social media. That's our website as well, DNP Financial. We do live videos Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. We've been digging into the PPP and the EIDL. Our goal throughout this coronavirus has been to help 100 businesses come out stronger than what they went into this global pandemic. So we're not necessarily looking to steal you from your accountants or anything like that, but we do want to make sure that you have taken advantage of the funding that is available, because too many Black businesses, minority Black businesses, are not taking advantage because they don't understand enough to know that they too can qualify for this funding. So definitely find me on Facebook, or find the business rather on Facebook or Instagram. And I look forward to coming back and chatting with you guys some more.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrea. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back. I'm working on trying to be like Andrea, right? I'm working on getting here 5 days, 6
Don't be
days a
like
week.
me.
It's a struggle. Well, I was kind of already on that route before, but life throws you different things, so you
Kamari
gotta
knows I'm
adjust.
kicking and screaming, y'all. Trust me.
I was the one who actually really pushed her to do
Yes,
more
to do
content.
videos. Yes.
Yeah, and she was the one who pushed me to do more tax. So she's like my sister, and I don't say that loosely. But listen, follow DNP Financial. Please take advantage of PPP. I'm going to say this in closing. If I get another question of somebody saying, should I take the loan for PPP or EIDL, my response is hell yeah, right? Because you'll probably never have an opportunity to get this level of funding. Cheap
Federal
interest
funding.
rates, EIDL, I want to say, yes, federal funding. Yes, thank you.
Federal
That's
funding.
important. It matters, folks. Yeah. I think EIDL is 3.75%. I think PPP is 1%.
1%.
PPP, right. PPP is a 60-month loan. The EIDL loan is a 30-year loan, right? So again, foundation is everything, but many times our Black businesses complain about the lack of capital. We complain about the lack of capital, and many of us are not applying, or we have applied, and now we're scared to take it. So come on, y'all. We gotta
Let's
we
get
gotta
this
get it
money.
together.
Let's get
But
this
listen,
money.
that's right. That's right. Happy Juneteenth, everybody, or happy
Yes.
belated Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day.
Yes.
I just had two aunts. I just had two aunts die on me this morning. And so I'll say this: life is precious, y'all.
Wow.
Don't chase money, result of losing connection with your family. Family and relationships are everything.
Everything.
So be mindful of that. I will see you all later. Everybody have a great Saturday and a great weekend. And listen, for all the ladies that are out there, please don't get your husband or your significant other a tire socks. We don't need none of that. Get him something special. But listen, y'all
Kamari
have
told
a
me I
great
did
weekend.
good, y'all.
He did. She did. Have a
Bye,
great weekend,
y'all.
everybody.